And the thing about it is, the reason it is so exclusive is because even getting into it is exclusive. And then if you don't get into it the exclusive way, then people question your credibility. And so I started teaching yoga in 2005, and I got a $99 certification. And that was a stretch. Again, we had just lost our house. We had just moved. And I spent a lot of money like buying books on like eBay. I was buying a lot of used books. And at that time, yoga trainings, 200-hour yoga trainings, like you had to spend 3 weeks in Costa Rica,
Yeah.
So not only is the training expensive, the travel is expensive, and you have to take time off work. And I could not afford to do any of that. And so I learned, as my students learned, I mean, a downward facing dog is a downward facing dog. But when I was teaching, it wasn't the alignment, the physical alignment that people were really concerned with. It was the feeling of the community that we created. And as long as someone wasn't going to take themselves out, I didn't touch them. I mean, a little bit here, a little bit there. And it gave people the space to find their own way. And Pilates is the same thing. I got a scholarship, thankfully, to take a comprehensive training, the 500 hours, but I had never even been on a reformer until I took that training. And I knew with that, just like when I took a bar training, that my specific goal was to be there so that people could recognize themselves, because Black with a big butt and I was in my 40s. But what I want to say is that even those of us who are working on size inclusivity and all that, there are so many layers, and all of us don't even agree, And so it's almost like we're fighting what my friend Michelle calls the victim Olympics. Like my issue, the way I see it, is better and it needs more light on it than yours does. When we're all say we're working for the same thing, but we all don't work the same way. Because what I say is there are a lot of people who are doing inclusivity work that are really, really mean. They're mean just because you work on racial bias or body bias or gender bias does not mean that you are not a mean person. And sometimes the way that we are operating in the space of social media, which is why trolls exist, because you can be anybody behind that screen. My approach, and I think the approach that we tried to take, because we had to learn from each other, before we did that panel, because we can talk about body positivity, but then there's some history that has to come behind that, because Christy King will tell you in a minute that movement was hijacked.
Yeah.
Because it started with Black women and Black transgender, and so there are layers. So there's a fight there. And then the other fight is that you don't understand why something is important because you've never had to deal with it.
Yeah.
And there's a lack of empathy, and people feel like we are promoting